no one I've ever met would be more capable of faking their death than him. But he also, I don't want to discount, I watched him turn into an alcoholic with a disease.
What really happened to these famous figures? Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 celebrity death conspiracies.
Drugs and death were constant themes, and in the wake of his suicide, there were fears Kurt Cobain would take some equally anguished kids along with him.
For this list, we're looking at celebrities whose deaths inspire the conspiracy theorists in us all, and continue to fuel pop culture discussions.
In 2002, Jesse claimed he was Elvis and that he would prove it to the world right here at Graceland on the 25th anniversary of his death. But that day came and went with no Jesse and no Elvis.
Number 10. Andy Kaufman.
Almost 30 years after his death, a brand new Andy is alive rumor is raging through the internet.
In life, this quirky comedian often enjoyed pulling fast ones on, well, everybody.
Thank you, chambermaid, for your excellent service. I am glad I don't require medical assistance.
So when Andy Kaufman permanently disappeared in 1984, supposedly due to lung cancer, the world refused to believe the official account of his death. Andy's last girlfriend and his own brother seem to have conflicting stories.
I get a phone call from a young sounding woman who professes to be his daughter.
But whatever you believe about Kaufman's death, no one can deny that a decades-long hoax would have been so Andy. He allegedly even said that if he were to fake his death, he would return 20 years later, which would have been 2004. In all reality, though, he's probably just enjoying some R&R in Albuquerque.
There are also fans who say if he's living in Albuquerque, he should be left alone.
Number 9. Jimmy Hoffa.
If it came a question of power as against money, certainly I would select power.
While the average person may not know what this man actually did for a living, many have thought his body was buried under Giant Stadium. As the leader of the Teamsters Union, Jimmy Hoffa was known to piss a few people off. And according to legend, the mob took care of the problem. Who exactly? Well, it's become quite popular to claim responsibility for the hit.
Following a tip from a dying man, police are looking at this property in Roseville, Michigan, at the driveway to be specific, under which may lie the solution to a 37-year-old national mystery.
It's an awfully trendy deathbed confession among mobsters, and if you believe notorious hitman Richard Kuklinski, he's the man responsible for Hoffa's earthly departure. Can we all just agree that Jimmy Hoffa could only have been killed once?
All trace of Hoffa's gone. His jewelry is dust.
Number 8. Jim Morrison.
Touch me, babe. Can't you see that I am not afraid?
If you were around in the late 60s and had the opportunity to hang with the lead singer of The Doors, he probably seemed more like a regular dude than somewhat of a mythical unicorn figure.
If you're popular, go with it. And if you go out of favor, just keep doing it.
But a shady death always leads to conspiracy theories, especially when the person in question supposedly died in a Parisian bathtub. Although the cause of death was stated as heart failure, no autopsy was ever performed, causing some to think Jim faked his own death, and others to claim that he overdosed in the bathroom of a nightclub. Well, the 70s were definitely a bit hazy for some, and conspiracy theorists continue to search for clarity.
He's dead. Sorry. I'm sorry.
Number 7. George Reeves.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's Superman. Yes, it's Superman.
Fact. Hollywood life can get a little crazy. In this cold case, it was TV's Superman who made his untimely exit from the Hollywood stage at the age of 45.
No one will ever convince me, I know they never convinced Helen, his mother, that he took his own life.
It seems that George Reeves was either suicidal, mobbed up, or accidentally killed by his fiancée. So basically, anything could have happened that night in Los Angeles.
Remember, George Reeves had pretty much an open house. There were a lot of people in there all the time.
We do know, however, that Reeves did die of a gunshot to the head, which ended his reign as the Man of Steel and his life, but did little to end the conspiracy surrounding his death.
That's the $64,000 question. Who knows who pressured who to do what to cover this up?
Number 6. Diana, Princess of Wales.
A French minister is being quoted this by the Reuters news agency now.
that Diana, Princess of Wales, has died in this accident.
Months before the Princess of Wales was killed in a 1997 car crash, along with boyfriend Dodi Fayed, she allegedly wrote a telling letter, worried that someone might tamper with her brakes. Well, we all know what happened, as Princess Diana's death inadvertently ushered in the age of internet speculation. One theory, according to claims by Dodi's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed, is that the MI6 and CIA were involved, with the potential motive for murder being that Diana may have been pregnant with Dodi's child, and that the two were going to get engaged. The paparazzi photographer who was following Diana before her death, James Adanson, committed suicide shortly after conspiracy theories arose, just one of many oddities about a seemingly straightforward matter.
The only problem with Mohammed Fayed's theory of the royal family and MI6 being behind the murder of Princess Diana is that it doesn't have a shred of credible evidence to support it.
Number 5. Elvis Presley.
So if an old friend I know, shove it up your nose, just by to say hello.
It's probably partly true that Elvis ate himself to death. But then again, drugs may be as much to blame as the fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches. Years after his supposed death, Elvis continues to live among us through his music, although some take this more literally.
Is Elvis Presley alive?
Absolutely, I would testify it in a court of law.
In fact, some theorize that he faked his death and that he's actually still alive, as over the years there have been countless claimed Elvis sightings.
By adding another A to his name, he changed the vibrations of his letters, and he would have been a higher spiritual number.
We may never actually know what went down at Graceland, but Elvis did have a few health issues, most notably an enlarged heart. And as you can imagine, drug use likely didn't help the old ticker. Even so, the king lives through conspiracy theories and all those special people who understand what's really going on.
Elvis, I want to thank you very much for being with us. We noticed that you've settled in Bismarck, North Dakota. Could you tell us, Elvis, what's the biggest difference between Bismarck and Memphis?
Probably the biggest difference, man. I never died in Bismarck.
Number 4. Kurt Cobain.
I'm so happy, 'cause today I found my friends in my head.
As the lead singer of Nirvana and husband to Courtney Love, Kurt Cobain earned plenty of headlines in the early 90s, and deservedly so. But it was Cobain's 1994 suicide that sparked a larger discussion about his personal life.
It was a totally empty room, no furniture, just Kurt's body lying on the floor. There was a shotgun lying on his chest.
At the time, the death wasn't a complete shock, at least considering the media portrayal of Cobain. But as new details emerge, theories continue to arise in search of the truth.
Nobody else close to Kurt ever said that he tried to commit suicide, but the world just took Courtney's word for it.
For example, take the 2015 documentary Soaked in Bleach, which focused explicitly on the details of the apparent suicide. Did someone assist in Cobain's death? And was it possible for Kurt to even pull the trigger given the heaps of heroin in his system? We may never know.
I cannot think of a case in which I have had someone inject himself with a large amount of heroin and then proceed to kill himself. It just doesn't make sense.
Number 3. Natalie Wood.
People sometimes go very big, but that's abnormal.
From child stardom to massive success as an adult, this late icon never failed to impress. But with fame comes insecurities, and Natalie Wood had a lifelong fear of drowning, which makes her 1981 death even more suspicious.
Natalie hated the water, hated it, had a great fear of it, didn't go into her own swimming pool at home.
After a night out with husband Robert Wagner and actor Christopher Walken, the actress inexplicably wound up in the waters off Santa Catalina Island, dead at the age of 43. With reportedly plenty of drinking and arguing going on that night, one could be led to believe that Natalie fell off the boat, but many think her husband may have forcibly removed her from the situation.
The tension was building throughout the whole weekend of Robert Wagner being jealous of Christopher Walken.
The captain seems to know what happened, but it's likely only Wagner and Walken know the truth. Well, allegedly, that is.
It's very difficult for all of us, and you know, every day is a little better.
Number 2. Marilyn Monroe.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Just a few months after her famous birthday salute to JFK, an American icon consumed a lethal amount of barbiturates and called it quits. At least that's one possibility. On the surface, it seems that Marilyn Monroe was severely depressed, with her death being ruled a probable suicide.
One, no question, Marilyn Monroe did not commit suicide. Two, that she was a victim of a homicide, that she was murdered.
However, some think her overdose was accidental, while others believe she may have actually been murdered that evening in Brentwood, due to the fact that she ran with an interesting crowd of politicians, mobsters, and some real powerful individuals.
She'd go down the street and call from a payphone. She was very nervous about her phone being bugged and asked me if I knew anyone that could look at it.
Was it Norma Jean herself, or someone with a motive and opportunity? Although no evidence of foul play was found in the investigation, the theories surrounding her death continue on.
What is the business of the CIA, which was involved, or the FBI, which was involved?
Before we unveil our #1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
You can run, you can run. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
#1, John F. Kennedy.
Through the years, they never changed their story. Now all of a sudden they're doing it because it's for the public record? I can't buy that.
Well, here's what we do know. Marilyn Monroe did not kill JFK. And maybe, just maybe, neither did Lee Harvey Oswald.
He's been shot. He's been shot. Lee Oswald has been shot.
In 1963, the extremely public death of President John F. Kennedy altered the course of history and subsequently inspired decades upon decades of conspiracy theories.
And then all of a sudden, the day turns to chaos, and it's unbelievable.
But someone pulled the trigger on not only the gun, but also on a massive cover-up. Given all the documentaries and books written about the ordeal, one could go mad just thinking of all the possibilities.
How many shots did you say you heard?
4 to 6.
That's impossible. You heard echoes.
Was it the CIA, the Soviets, the New Orleans contingent? The list of possibilities is endless. But when you look at the facts, is it really possible that Lee Harvey Oswald, a lone gunman, executed the perfect crime? Or were there larger forces at work?
There was no conspiracy at all. The conspiracy was in the mind of Lee Oswald.
Do you agree with our list? What celebrity death conspiracy do you buy into?
Phone records also show that Marilyn receives a call from friend and screenwriter Jose Bolaños around 10 that evening.
For more thought-provoking top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
Today at the National Archives, people pore over the documents that were released, desperate to find a conspiracy. But to date, they haven't found it.